Hi everybody, it's Allison with the Everyday Scrapbooker, dropping in to share with you a Halloween themed card that I made using Frightful Friends. It's part of the special that's going on right now. It's available until October 31st. And I used just the stamps and the thin cuts to create this card. I used sponge daubers and ink to ink the background using lilac, sapphire, and charcoal ink. Before I did that though, I heat embossed the stars in the background using white daisy pigment ink and the extra fine white embossing powder from Close to My Heart. Just dotted the stars around on the top part of the card and then heat embossed them with the heat gun, and then after that started doing the inking. Next, I headed over to my Cricut and cut the tree and grass. I welded that image together so that it would make one cut, and I cut it from black cardstock and then made two other separate cuts from sage cardstock to create the grass for the foreground. While I was doing the cutting on my Cricut, I got smart and realized that rather than making a bunch of different cuts to cut the tree and the grass all out and putting them together, it was possible to put two of the images together and cut them out as one using the attach and weld functions on the Cricut. If you head over to the Try It Out group over on Facebook, you will see a Facebook Live that I put up there earlier this afternoon highlighting and explaining how to use that function. You'll notice a tiny little space at the bottom of the card where it's just white. I did that on purpose. I wanted to glue the tree and the grass a little bit higher up, making it look like it's further back in the card. And then the second piece of grass I glued right to the bottom so it's flush with the bottom edge of the mat to create shadowing and distance on the card base. The next thing I did was took the cute little critters from Frightful Friends and stamped them on scrap white daisy cardstock using intense black ink. That ink is the perfect ink to use when you're mixing different media with your stamping. So if you're watercoloring or coloring with alcohol markers, intense black ink is the perfect ink to use. And in this case, to shade in the characters from Frightful Friends, I did use our brand new Spectrum Noir markers to color them in. I am still practicing using the Spectrum Noir markers. I love coloring them in and I'm practicing shading. I still have a long ways to go, I think, but I'm enjoying coloring and learning at the same time. I decided to use the ice gray blend marker to color in the bunny, the mummy, and the vampire as well. I used the lightest shade to color the entire image in, and then I used the medium and darkest shades to create shadowing in each of the animals as well. I also used the blending pen just to spread that gray color out a little bit more and make the difference between the colors where there was shading blend just a little bit better as well. Specifically for the mummy image, I just used the lightest gray to create the shading and the shadowing, and all I did basically was just trace the lines that were already there from the stamped image, and then I used the blender pen to spread it out and fill it in just a little bit more. To color in the bunny, after I got the gray all done and colored in, I used the pale pink blend, the lightest pink in the marker, to fill in the inside of the bunny's ear, and then I used the middle medium color to create shading in the bunny's ear as well. After I had finished this video, I realized that I could use the dark red blend marker to color in the strip at the very top of the bunny's pirate hat. So I used the dark red blend to color that in as well. I chose the light green blend to color in the bunny's pirate pants as well. So I used the lightest of the light green blend to color in the pants fully, and then I used the middle color once again just to create some shading and shadows. And last but not least, on Mr. Bunny, I used the gold brown blend to color in the hilt on his sword. I used the medium color this time, not the lightest one, to color in the hilt, and then I used the darkest color in this blend to do some highlighting. I should mention as well, I just about forgot, I did use the ice gray blend to color in the blade on the bunny's sword as well, and then I used the blender pen just to spread out that color and even it out a little bit more. Next, I colored in the super duper cute little cat vampire. I used the ice gray blend again to color the kitty in, and where his little cape ties up, I used the dark red blend to color in his little bow. I mentioned earlier that this stamp and thin cut set is part of the Spooktacular special that is available right now. You have the option of getting the stamp set with the thin cuts, or you can get it without as well. Personally, I think it's a better deal to get the stamp set with the thin cuts. You're getting more for your money by getting the entire set. And it also makes cutting just so much easier rather than having to fussy cut everything with a pair of scissors. Roll it through your Cuttlebug or another die cutting machine and you're done in seconds. Ta-da! All the images are cut out. I showed you very briefly there the packaging that the thin cuts comes on. The little piece of film there that you see, the black that the thin cuts is on, is magnetic, so your thin cuts are going to stay on that. They don't slide around. And then they come in little cellophane packaging as well, just so it corrals everything and keeps it together. I'm just arranging the characters in whatever way makes me happy. The little mummy is hanging off the base by a little bit, which is fine because there's going to be a border around the card as well, so it's not hanging off the card. And I'm just attaching that to the base now. The cardstock in the background is lilac, so it's picking up the lilac that's at the bottom of the skyline there. And lastly, I am stamping the sentiment. So there's a word bubble there. I stamped it in black ink and stamped trick or treat in black ink as well. There's no thin cut that goes with this stamped image, so I had to fussy cut it out. If you get this stamp set and thin cuts, you'll have to do the same thing. Once I've got that cut out, I will take a foam square, also known as a pop dot, put that on the back of the word bubble and then stick it to the card base. To add just a little bit of sparkle and bling to finish off my card, I took my black stickles and added just a little bit of sparkle to each of the characters. I began with the mummy's nose, then I did the pirate's eye patch, and lastly I finished with the vampire's cloak. If you enjoyed today's tutorial, feel free to drop in again by clicking like down at the bottom of this video and subscribing to my channel. And I hope to see you again soon. Thanks for joining me.